This show is sponsored by Realtor Cynthia Bear, Putting Down Roots. Visit your in-town real estate specialist in Atlanta at cynthiabaer.com.
You are now tuned in to the Good Gracious Show. Welcome.
Howdy, Good Gracious family. It is July 19th, 2019. And this is episode 134 of Good Gracious Show podcast. Welcome, Boyd Baker here, talking to you from the sunny, sweaty South. Yes, we've had as much sun as everybody else, but then we also get the added benefit of humidity. Kind of humidity, you come out of the shower and you just start sweating. So you need to take a shower for your shower. But you know what? First world problems, right? So I'm going to put a smile on this and say, I'm glad to be having such a wonderful summer, and I hope you are too. And part of my wonderful summer has been talking to some really fascinating people. One of them was Nicole from Found Stages. I'm always fascinated by theater people and how they can just jump up and create art. But Found Stages takes it to the next level where they're not doing a typical theater. They're creating stages around town. So it's a really brilliant model for artists to get their work out there. And they've got a show coming up in October, a Frankenstein show that really sounds amazing. And so you're gonna want to hear how she's doing what she's doing. At the same time, I sat down with Sassfolk. That's Sassfolk, a really incredible bluegrass duo that I met. I believe it was through Jason Waller's Waller Coffee Shop. He had them performing there and reached out to them, and they are just getting started, but whoa, what talent and what beautiful people. You are going to want to listen and then listen again, and I think you're going to hear a lot more from Sassfolk down the road. So that's what I got on store here. That's on tap. I hope you can just sit back and enjoy.
Okay. I'm like, you want to say?
So we are Sassfolk, an awesome female duo, as we like to call ourselves. Mm-hmm. We're superheroes in our own mind. But I'm Anna, and this is Jana.
Hello.
I make a lot of hand movements that no one can see.
That's natural, yeah.
But
as long as you're talking into the mic.
And this has really been like 20 years in the making.
Yeah.
We both grew up very prone to music. She came from a musical family. Mm-hmm. Her dad's been a recording artist for decades.
As long as I can remember.
Yeah, and then I had an affinity to music really young and started playing the piano when I was like 4 and just annoyed my family.
But you were the first in your family
I was
to be
the
a
first.
musician,
yes.
Which I think is so interesting, coming from such a musical family and just knowing as a kid that I'm going to play music someday. And maybe you knew that, but like not having anyone in your family that came first.
Really,
really interesting.
Yeah, really what happened is my parents bought a piano, and I don't remember this, but my mom said I would go and she would show me the notes, and then go make dinner. And I would, as a 4-year-old, go and just sit and do exactly what she did. So they're like, maybe we need to put her in piano lessons. But I digress. So
we have been 20 years in the making, but we are only recently best friends and musical buddies.
Yes.
It's funny because one of my very best friends is Anna's cousin, and that is our connection, how we know each other. And so I grew up with her and played. She was my number one fan always, and probably still is to this day, and always would ask me to get my guitar out and, make me play in social situations, and always rooted for me. And she always wanted me and Anna to get together. And I remember about 15 years ago was the first time she brought us together. And it was funny because she thought we were way better musicians than we were at the time, and just expected us to be able to jam together.
Just naturally, yeah. It's just going to be magic.
Like we were just
It wasn't.
Jam. And I knew my songs that I had written, as a young woman, and she had a couple that she had written, and we like kind of tried to play along, but realized I don't know how to jam with you, you know. But we just sat and listened back and forth. And I really like your song about this, and she'd say, I really like your song too. That was very nice. And that was about the gist of it.
You're kind of like Chip and Dale, the chipmunks from the.
Yes.
Oh, you're so good.
Exactly.
Oh, yes, you too. Back at you.
We admired.
Yeah.
Admired each other.
other.
And it's a shame that, like, at that point in our lives when we really didn't have much to do, we could have, like, started
really
something and, like, had all these years ahead of us by now.
Cue eye roll.
But obviously it wasn't the right time for us.
And funny story, like when I would go over to my cousin's house, Jana would obviously be there hanging out with Emily. And Jana was the first human, not female, but like human that I saw with a guitar playing my hand movements, you guys, it's out of control. But playing a guitar and singing. And I was like, I made the connection then that I could do that as well. Like I could play guitar and write songs because I was just in piano lessons at that point. And
I never knew that.
She never knew that until recently. And I was like, no, you were the person.
That's so cool.
That started
You're the wind beneath her wings.
I know. We have a love fest. If no one else loves us,
It doesn't matter.
We sure love each other.
When the apocalypse comes, you're okay because you've got each other.
But anyhow, that was when we were both single. Well,
Yeah.
I wasn't quite single. I was newly married because I got married very young at 16. And but I had no children. And then she added a marriage and twins. I added 3 children. And then we decided to.
And now that we have 5 children between us, now let's start.
Now's a good time to do that.
And then going through a divorce and single motherhood. And now we're doing this.
Yeah.
So.
And you're not proximate to each other either, are you?
No.
I live right outside of Athens, Georgia, in Monroe.
And I live in Dunwoody. So it's tougher.
You're at least on the north end.
We meet in Lilburn. I have family and friends in Lilburn that take us in most Thursday nights so that we can have some rehearsals every now and then. And we try to do a lot with technology, like I said, so that helps. But it is crazy just trying to fit it all into our lives. And I think I posted something on National Women's Day about how, years ago, my grandmother was in a folk duo, and once she got married and had kids, like she just could no longer do it. It just was not expected, or it was. I don't want to say it wasn't allowed, but she was just like, there's just no way I could have ever done it. And so to think that like we're still making it work through every other obligation that we have is pretty cool that we can do that in this day and age.
Yes.
Well, and I think that's a testament to your relationship, though, too. That you've got that flexibility, that fluidity, and that past that you...
Well, really, when we kind of formed, I didn't know what to expect out of Jana because I knew I was at this phase of my life that was already super crazy. And then it just kept getting crazier. I was like, one can only handle so much insanity. But Jana really became what was an unknown, where I wasn't sure about it or even sure of myself in the music world. Like it became this weird sister bond that has become like, she was so flexible and understanding and then very motivating and like hold me to the line. So she really became like this big sister to me that would work with me but not take my crap.
Yeah.
Which is so important in a duo, to have that honesty and just that open line of communication where you can point out to each other where you're kind of veering off track and not get your feelings hurt.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Were either of you in other musical groups at all?
Well, I always wanted to be in a duo. It's funny, like I always just... I did my first album quite a few years ago. It took me so long to make it, and once I did that, I was like, okay, I have this album. I need to start playing out. So I had a big album release party. It was successful. I started like booking some gigs here and there, and I just never liked to play by myself. And I always thought my musical soulmate was going to be a dude. I just always thought that way. But then when I met Anna and we started writing songs together, I was like, oh my God, I've kind of felt like I had a girlfriend all of a sudden. Like,
Yes.
It was like a new relationship, and I was like, should we just start a band? I remember asking her that, and it felt like I was asking her to be my girlfriend. And I was like, my heart kind of like stopped for a second.
You didn't write it on a sheet of paper?
I was like, did I just say that out loud? Because
Yeah.
I didn't know what I was getting myself into, but I just knew the musical chemistry was there, and I kind of just blurted it out to her, and I was like, oh, I just made a first move.
Yeah.
And Anna was like, I was just thinking that, but we were both like a little scared to go into it because, just
It's like having a crush and then being like, should we do this?
Yeah.
actually have a band practice.
Yeah. And I had actually put down my guitar really for about 8 years.
The entire time that I was working on my album.
The entire time she was progressing.
You were just, you were building up energy.
Yeah, I was just, what I like to say is I was acquiring unusual life experiences.
That's better than saying a hot mess.
Yes. Yes, I was taking the very less traveled road and to work on some songwriting material.
There you go. You were creating material.
Yeah, I was creating material.
And Lord knows I needed that because I have a wonderful husband. I have a that is supporting me, supporting Sassfolk. Even in the beginning stages when I was like, I don't know if this is gonna work out. Anna has this, Anna has that, and he'd be like, babe, she's going through some stuff right now. You need to be patient. And he would be that person to kind of redirect and root for us. And he was a big fan of our work. So I do have that support at home, with a lot of family and a lot of friends, and Anna didn't have as much of that, so absolutely, we needed each other, and
it's worked out.
It's been really, really, really nice, and I hope we don't ever break up.
We're probably not.
I don't know. Once you say it, you're kind of like,
I always walk in and
never gonna break up.
Yeah. I've really just integrated myself into her family. I've become the virus that's like, hey, what's up? I'm gonna form myself into one of you guys, and I'm here to stay. And now Derek, her husband's like, what's up, Anna? There's the fridge.
There you go.
There's the fridge.
There's the fridge.
You're
Make
like,
a sandwich.
yeah, you're the Eddie Haskell to the Beaver Cleaver family.
Yes.
So it works out, though.
Yes.
Well, so how did you decide, or did you just naturally know that you wanted to be in this kind of Americana route? Or was there some talk about maybe some death metal, a little bit of this,
Our
little
voices, I
polka?
feel like, just lend itself to this kind of folk, and I think that's the music that we really love in our hearts and listen to.
So was it the singing that really kind of made you think this is important, or was it?
I would try to write outside of the folk realm, and it never would work because all I listen to is either straight up folk, like bluegrass, revival, gospel music, or Amos Lee, Ray LaMontagne, like those Americana writers that really just paint the scene of America today. Mm-hmm. And then a lot of duos like First Aid Kit, and then just
Lily and Madeline.
Yeah.
And
that's just kind of their writing just kind of integrated into mine, and that's what just came out naturally. Mm-hmm. And I would be like, we're actually in this rut now where we need to be more upbeat, or we need to.
A lot of people say that to us.
But you know what? You go. I think you go through phases. And you can only force so much. So
it is what it is, and folk is and Americana. It is what it is.
Yeah. It's what comes out of our hearts when we start playing and writing, and we're just now kind of listening to our songs in context and thinking how we are finally developing a style. I'm noticing what we're doing with our harmonies, and a lot of songs we weave in and out to the point where I can't really tell who's singing, even though I know my parts. When we watch a video or listen to the recording, I'm like, wait, did I do the lower part or did I do the high?
Yeah.
And how did that interweave? And I have to kind of sing my part sometimes to figure out who is singing what. And when we noticed our harmonies could be interchanged, and that was kind of our thing, that was our strong suit, was our voices and our harmonies. We've been running with that with our new material.
So what is the new material? What's happening? Can we tell?
Yes.
So
top secret.
we're working on our album, Heart of Light, and it's really, I think, about this chapter of transformation, and not in like some beautiful, like
Chrysalis butterfly.
Right.
no, it's the nitty gritty of a part of your life coming to an end, and relationships coming to an end, and then even yourself in a way coming to an end, and then figuring out where you're going to go from there. You know, it's not like, oh, this is over and now this has begun. It's going, oh my God, where do I go? You know? And so the new songs are kind of like a conversation. That's what we kind of decided yesterday, of like a comforting friend. Just like, I've been there, I've done that, you're going to be okay. And I mean, it gets to, we like to kind of tackle socially taboo things head on in our like postpartum depression, especially towards women. You know, not to say we're like hairy, non-showering feminists or anything, but you know, there are the mothers are the unsung heroes in our society, I think, and I do think that light's being shed on that. But like Lonesome Island with postpartum depression, and Roots about being just spiritually lost. Like just that honest God, whatever you are, universe, Allah, like, are you even real? And do I belong to you? And then Hey Friend, which is a conversation between two friends. We were like, has there ever been a song written from one female to another in a conversation?
The way that women talk to each other and rely on each other, women develop relationships with other women, and it helps pull them out of so much. There's things that I know I can never go to my husband and get what I need conversation-wise, so I have to call the women in my life, and maybe I call 3, 4, 5, 6 women in a row, which I do sometimes, and I hear the same thing from each one, and it's I'm there for you, and you keep on going. You were made for this mountain, and that is one of the lines in the song on Hey Friend, and it's I think it's one of the most powerful. That everyone has a mountain to climb, everyone has pain that they go through, but you were made for it, and you're gonna get through it.
And I think Let It Fall, one of our new ones, tackles divorce in a very upfront way. Like there's no hiding the fact that it's about a separation of what you thought would last forever and being okay at the end of it. Like, you know what, it didn't work out. We probably should have done it a while ago, but we're good, you know? And then Home, you know, with substance abuse and finding that connection. Like we just realized as writers we're very dramatic. We're so dramatic. So really Americana and folk is our own home that accepts our emo hearts and lets us dwell there.
Wow. So what's the plan for sharing this music? Do we have one yet?
We recently played a house concert and had an epiphany, and we really think that that's a direction we want to explore a little bit more. And we had such a wonderful, intimate show at this person's house that invited us to play, and
so we decided to this fall launch a secret house concert tour where friends, family, strangers can set up like a listening session within their homes, and people come together. Again, it's about that connection, and just have, you know, food and drinks and a good conversation and the music. And so we're launching the Secret House Tour this fall, and we'll be promoting that on our website, sassfolk.com, and our social media sites like Facebook and Instagram, Sassfolk. And we're playing with the Foothill Brothers August 30th at Eddie's Attic. So we're super psyched to be invited back there. Yes. We love Eddie's Attic.
We do.
And yeah, we're just trying to, you know, make our way and around Atlanta.
We find that the more we put ourselves out there, the more opportunities are just landing in our laps, which is really nice. And it just means that we're doing something right, and we're just going to continue. We have high hopes and big goals. more than just house concerts down the road. But this is definitely we feel like this could be like a really cool way to go, is doing a little underground.
So do you have plans to record?
Yes, and actually we are doing that as well. We're recording at Cave Cricket Studios with Billy Ewan, who is a mastermind in the studio. And we're trying to do a more stripped down kind of album, where
we're basically laying like all the tracks out very raw. Like all of them. We're not producing and mastering one at a time.
Like an oil painting. You want to I used to date an artist. And he would have. I used to date only artists and musicians. Then I met my husband, who's complete opposite. But anyways, this guy I would date, he would do 6 or 7 oil paintings in a row, or at the same time, I mean. And he would put layers down on each, and then he'd have to wait a full day and a half sometimes before it would dry, and then he would put the next layer on all of them. So we really want to get the first layers down and be able to hear that. And the first layers sounded so wonderful that we've, offered them as a demo on, for our house concerts. People always want something they can go home and listen to. So they are, the ones that we have are ready as is, and we of course have more ideas to build on them, but I don't want to get too crazy with them until we get a full set.
Are you thinking the new year, this fall, winter? When do you think humanity might see a final
on our
version?
Vision board, I believe I put 2020.
Yeah, I believe it was early 2020. We're going to actually be finished with Heart of Light. But like I said, like Jana said, we've released the raw versions out into the world, and we're going to open them up very soon. Right now they're only accessible through a download card and a secret portal.
Yeah. a portal through the universe. I like that, the secret portal. I like the way you looked away when you said portal. Like,
I know.
It's so secret that you don't even understand what I'm saying.
It's like the Illuminati of download codes.
That's right. Yeah, it's not even on just a card.
I mean,
you've got to have special vision to see the download on the card.
We even came up with a brand new name for download for our webpage, so it was like Downloadia.
Ooh, it's a good place to visit.
Go to a land.
Maybe.
Downloadia. We get really weird.
I got that one time when I was in South America, though.
Oh, no.
May not be so good.
But we're going to be opening it up to the, massive web in a few weeks, where they'll be accessible to anybody for purchase to kind of promote the finishing of our album. All of our funds that we acquire through gigs, house concerts, demo sales go to recording. Like
every cent.
No gas money, no anything extra. It all goes. We basically give Billy our souls, and we're like, more studio time.
Well, if people want to find out when you're playing, how to get these, what's the best way for them to get that?
I would say follow us on Facebook and Instagram. We do a lot of blasts before the shows on Facebook. And you can also go to sassfolk.com, and there will be links to all of the things.
All the things.
The YouTubes.
And everything across the board is Sassfolk.
Yes.
And I don't think you're going to have a problem finding too many of those to sift through. So,
well, thanks for coming in. I appreciate it.
Thank you
for having us.
This is awesome. So, hey, we're Sassfolk, and this is our song called Home. Met you in an old plantation house, sitting in a circle, crying our souls out. And I was scared to let you in, for the world had turned me out. It didn't take long to show our hearts were the same, you know. We braved the dark with your line. funny when you're lost and all alone, how a heart becomes a home. I can always find my way back to you. And when the nights get too long, remember the song. There's a home in my heart for you. Walking nameless streets filled with doubt, stepping round shadows with a soul turned inside out. And I just wanna let you in, but in this world I don't know how. These hearts aren't the same, you know. People, they are so cold. If only I could find a little light. It's funny when you're lost and all alone, how a heart becomes a home. I can always find my way back to you. When the nights get too long, remember the song. There's a home in my heart for you. When the nights get too long, remember the song. There's a home in my heart for you. Oh yeah. All right. Yeah.
That was, yeah,
Thank you.
that was called Home. And I love the first line about just being in a plantation house.
Yes, we like to, when we're diving into songs, we always start with this emotional idea, like that comes from a feeling, and then we'll get so intense in that, and then I feel like in the songwriting process, we're like, let's make it more tangible, like that.
Something
You could see what I'm doing with my hands. But anyhow, fill the song out, and I like to just incorporate, you know, some scenery and just some backdrop and, you know, a little bit about that song. I had gotten to this really, when I approached Jana to write it, I was like, I really want to write about this broken part of my life where connection saved it. And so I went to a place that was an actual plantation house out in this little county highway in the middle of nowhere, just completely broken down by life, lost, didn't know where to go. And this group of people who I was absolutely terrified of, loved me and accepted me and gave me the space to heal. And that's really where that song came from, Home. That, you know, sometimes home isn't a physical structure. It's not a loved one per se. It's just that connection you establish with somebody else, and that you can always find your home in that connection. So yeah,
It's so pretty.
It is. It is. So that was Home. Yeah.
My name is Nicole Palmetto, and I am one of the co-founders of Found Stages.
And Found Stages would be?
Found Stages is a theater company based here in Atlanta, and we build community through innovative storytelling. So we take plays out of the theater and into real world spaces where people actually live and work. So we do what's called site-specific and immersive theater. So we find a space that fits the story that we want to tell, and then we create our show. They're all original plays, and we write them and design them and stage them in an existing space.
So do you normally do, let's say it's play A, you would do that knowing you were going to be in, say, Wondershop, and that's it? Or do you do that same one at other places sometimes too?
We've done both.
Okay.
So right now we're creating an adaptation of Frankenstein that'll take place at Halloween. It's called Frankenstein's Funeral. And that is created for this awesome, beautiful, old Gothic church on Ponce called St. John's Lutheran. It's across the street from Paideia School.
Oh, yeah.
Big red doors.
Yeah.
It's gorgeous.
They've got a great sign out front. Their sign is always got the best messages. You know, one of those church messages. I just love it. They got what's up. Oh, cool.
Well, they do a lot of really great things in the community. So they're really lovely people. But it's this.
Is it going to be in the sanctuary?
It'll be through the whole campus. Yeah. So the audience will actually travel with the characters, and you'll go on a physical journey through the book.
Wow.
With the characters.
That is cool. So you're writing this, you're directing this, you're acting in this, right?
I'm doing some of those things. So the story is my concept. The production is my concept. But there's actually 4 writers. So I am doing some of the writing, but then there are 3 other writers who are who have been with our company since the beginning. One is my co-founder, Neely Gossett. And then Annie Harrison Elliott and Adiah Moon. And so we've all done another collaborative writing project together through the Alliance Theater, through the Riser Atlanta Artist Lab. So that's where we sort of got this collaborative writing style that we've used on several different projects started. So the way we split it up for this one is Adiah is writing the monster's journey and all the characters associated with his arc. Neely's writing the scientist's journey, Victor Frankenstein, and his characters. And then the author of the book, Mary Shelley, she's actually your guide through the world. And so that's Annie writes her. And then I sort of wrote the original outline that we're following, and then the stage directions, and then meld everything back together. So it's a unique writing process for theater.
Yeah. So that's a really interesting way to meld 4 different voices, kind of. Do you feel like you're melding the voices, or are they almost like different chapters?
No, we're definitely melding the voices, and at some point the lines have blurred in the writing process at some point, and the more comfortable we've gotten with the story, people have added lines for other characters, or there are points where these characters interact. So yeah, I think it is definitely a melding of these 4 different voices and 4 different perspectives. But because we've been working through the lens of found stages together for 5 years, we also come at it from that perspective.
So 5 years, that's a journey, right? I mean,
Yeah.
5 years, from 5 years to today, I'm sure it looks a lot different.
Yes.
Well, are each of these performances, are they different writers, or is it part of a crew of folks that are part of Found Stages that do all the writing, or can sometimes artists come to you?
Yeah, we've had both. So we started in 2014 with a play that Neely wrote called Beulah Creek, and we presented it at Dunwoody Nature Center, and it sort of followed the same kind of promenade style that we'll be using in Frankenstein's Funeral, where the audience moved with the characters to multiple locations. That one was, Neely wrote that play, and then she rewrote it for the space. And then we've done other ones where we've invited other writers in to help with different projects. For a while, we were doing about 1 project a year. And now we're in the middle of our 2nd annual wine and reading series, which is designed to build relationships with a lot of incredibly talented Atlanta-based writers. So actually, our fellow Alma member, Leah Sorio, was this year's kickoff playwright.
And that was at Dunwoody Nature Center too,
That was
wasn't it?
again at
Yeah.
Dunwoody Nature Center.
Yeah.
So we like to collect people, and we like to collect places. So we're about building community, right?
Yeah.
And part of that is
revisiting these things.
revisiting those relationships and growing them and building upon your history with them.
So tell me more about the wine and reading series or whatever. What was?
Yeah, it's great. It's the second Sunday of every month, we showcase a staged reading of a new play by an Atlanta-based writer who has a reputation outside of Atlanta. So really showcasing that we have these world-class writers,
right here amongst us.
Exactly, who live here, and we should celebrate that. So it's a staged reading, and wine and appetizers are included with your admission. So it really becomes this sort of celebratory party atmosphere that you have this story, but the story is a kickoff for an interchange amongst the audience and the audience with the artists. And so it's a time to really get together and come together around this story and use that as a...
So you're doing that 12 times a year?
We're doing it 6 times a year.
6 times.
So we do the series this year. It started in May and it'll run through October. So once a month. Okay.
And then the special pieces like Frankenstein is a different beast, right?
Yeah. So that's a full production with 25 people on the team, and we have designers and
the costumes.
Yeah, really elaborate, beautiful costumes. For this one, we also have original music.
Wow.
That will be a mixture of recorded sound and live accompaniment over top of it.
Who's doing that?
A really talented composer and musician named Chris Gravely.
Nice.
So that's a, like you said, it's a whole other beast that we're and in talking about going back to like building the shows for the spaces and developing those relationships. We've been talking with St. John's since before this time last year, and really that allowed us to really create the whole script for their space. So, even in the script, it says what room a scene happens in and takes in. We also build in the audience because it's immersive, and we have interactive moments, but I always like to think of it like inviting the audience into the story, but never putting them on the spot. So
you don't have to be afraid that you're going to have to say a line.
No. And there are moments where you might be asked to speak, but you always have the choice to say no. And you're really, you're being invited to activate the story, and to affect it in a way. And your presence is important in a way that just going to see the show could happen without you. In our shows, it's almost impossible. Yeah. There comes a point in the rehearsal process where we just say, bring in your friends and family. We need a test audience.
Well, how many of these type of performances do you do? Do you still just mount like one a year, one major?
Right now, we're just at one a year. That's sort of all we. Yeah, that's sort of all we have the
bandwidth for.
Exactly. Yeah. But even this, we've been working on it since beginning of last year. So it'll be a long time with most of the team that we've spent working up to this point.
So was this the original idea for Found Stage, or has it morphed over the years to kind of say, this is really more where we should be going?
Yes, and. So when we started it, I think a lot of immersive theater and site-specific theater comes out of necessity.
Not
know,
being able to afford a space or
yeah,
circumstances.
Yeah, or space is not being available, or and cost is a big one. So when we found stages and wanted to do Beulah Creek, the fact that it was called Beulah Creek and took place at a creek, we thought about, well, if we had to build that, if we had to rent a space and build that out, what would that cost? And then Neely had an existing relationship with the Dunwoody Nature Center, and we called them and said, can we do a show at your space? And
I'm sure they were excited.
Yeah, and they were generous and still are, and see what we're bringing as a way to expand their own programming. And, they have a lot of programming for children and young families, but you sort of age out.
Yeah.
And so this is a way to bring back adults. And I think that's really important. So we knew that, we were starting at this place of site-specific theater, and that we wanted to, transport the audience into this world and have it be an immersive experience. But I think it wasn't until the end of that process, when we had these high school boys come to the show, because we had Neely's professor and had worked out a dual credit situation where like they would get credit if they come to see our show. We were desperate for
audience. And we also want to make sure we got audience. Yeah, you always want to make sure.
So they came and, showed up in like their sweatpants right after track practice, and we're just so nonplussed to be going to see a theater show. And like a scene into it, they were lit up. As soon as they had to walk with the characters, you could see them being like, what is this? And afterwards they came up to us and said, I can't believe that this is theater.
Yeah.
I'm going to come back and I'm going to bring my parents.
Nice.
And after that,
there's no better praise than that from a teenager.
Right? You want to do something with your parents.
Yeah.
And it's theater. So after that, we really realized that we were filling a need that existed that people didn't even know needed filling.
So how do you? I'm assuming you're operating pretty lean and not with a large space for storage or rehearsals or anything. How do you?
I have 3 closets in my apartment and they're all full.
Yeah. How do you guys do that when you put up even a reading can be kind of a challenge, I would think.
It's very lean, but we are very committed as artists and as artists who have worked for free, that the people working with us will be treated as professionals. And even if we can't pay them a lot, we are going to pay them. And so that has meant that I've had to learn how to fundraise and write grants.
That's easy, isn't it?
It's so easy.
People have no idea how easy it is to be an artist. Otherwise, they'd all be artists, wouldn't they?
Exactly. So the next podcast we should do is just about how easy fundraising is, and why doesn't everyone do it?
Why are you working so hard? So did this fall on your shoulders instead of some of your co-founder or your associates?
It's mostly falling on my shoulders because I'm the one trying to make it my full-time job.
There you go. Yeah.
So Neely's a full-time professor, and doing this on top of her full-time job. So I'm the one trying to make this my full-time job. So, and we also have a great board, and we just became a nonprofit last year. So all of the board and strategic plan and fundraising is relatively new. But I think because even though we're a 2-year-old nonprofit, we're a 5-year-old organization. So, we do have some history to build on, and some people who have always supported us in the past. So building on that and trying to do things like Alma and learn best practices and meet with other arts leaders in the city to learn what do you do and
how do you do it?
Yeah, not reinvent the wheel. So
Yeah. That's a challenge.
Yeah.
Well, that's pretty cool. So have you found the success of Found Stages? It's never as good as you want, right? But have there been surprising moments that you're like, oh, this is more than we could have expected, or that was a way cooler thing than I ever could have thought we would have put together?
Yes. So at Halloween we're doing Frankenstein's funeral, but it's really the second in a like a 2-part companion series. So at this past New Year's Eve, we did a show called Frankenstein's Ball, which really looks at Mary Shelley's real life and the people who populated her real life and all the drama in that. And it takes place, you're invited into this party thrown by the infamous poet Lord Byron, and there's like 7 scenes happening at the same time, and you can really pick and choose what you want to do and what you want to see. And that one came together very quickly. We found this space like 2 months to our date, and we'd already basically told everybody that we're doing this.
We just don't know where.
We don't know where. But we hadn't started selling tickets or anything like that. And we had a cast before we had a full script, but we still built out the show for the space, and then 2 days before we opened, we sold out, and people showed up in costume, in Regency attire, and they knew all the period dances, and they had like watched our videos. We have this really talented graphic designer named Brad Fairchild who works with us, and we wanted everything to feel immersive. We wanted, even the show program to feel immersive. So he created a 19th century dance card that you would have gotten at a home ball. Mm-hmm. And when you unfolded it, on the inside was the show program. And so people came and they had already, seen what that was and knew to expect it. And they were having fun and interacting and sort of playing the game, and everyone looked happy. And by the end of that, I was like, we did it. Yeah,
I can die now if I have to.
I don't want to die. But
I don't want to, but this wouldn't be a bad time to do it.
I felt really, really proud of that one. And I felt like we had also found our audience, because I was there, and, since I wasn't in the show, I got to go around and talk with a lot of the audience members and ask them how they found out about it and why they came. And a bunch of people told me that they had been looking for immersive theater in Atlanta, and this was the first one they found. And that, they were so excited that they didn't have to go to New York to experience something like this. And Yeah,
that is good. That's sweet.
Yeah, you were talking about, good stories about the South, and I feel like this was a win for Atlanta.
Yeah. Well, so what was your background coming into this? Were you a theater junkie in high school and college, or?
I studied theater in college. I have a degree in theater and a second degree in public relations. And I went to UT Austin in Texas, and they have a really great new play program, but also a amazing New Works Festival called the Cohen New Works Festival. And I was one of the people who helped run that festival my sophomore and junior year. That's actually why I got a degree in PR, was because I got put in charge of the PR and marketing. Was like, I don't actually know what I'm doing. I should just get another degree.
Yeah, there you go. makes perfect sense.
It does. But so from that, part of my job, aside from marketing the shows, was being on the committee that helped choose what shows got into the festival and how much money they got in their budgets. And so I got to read all of these really unique and creative applications. And then going back to this idea that site-specific theater comes out of necessity, we were producing 50 plus shows in the span of a week that all got 3 performances, and there were not enough theater spaces and classroom spaces to go around. So by necessity, a lot of them pitched site-specific pieces. And just the creativity that comes out of that when you have to work in a new space and have to sell that space, essentially, of why you chose that for your story and what it adds to your story. I think there's a lot of room for really creative choices that you may not have made in the
otherwise.
Safety of a traditional theater.
Yeah. Huh. Well, that's kind of neat. So what is the hope for Found Stages in the coming year? What's the plan? Tell me the secrets.
So we're going to launch Frankenstein's Funeral, and that's going to run all of October. So our first show goes up October 4th, and then it runs through November 3rd. And
will it be once a week or?
So, we'll have multiple performances a week, always on the weekends. But it'll be Thursday through Monday, but not all of those days every week because we're working around the church's schedule. Yeah, because it's a working church and they have their own programs. And
it's awesome that they gave you space,
It is. It really says a lot about how wonderful they are. And yeah, if you're looking for a church, check them out. And we'll be doing 2 performances a night. There's Halloween night shows and all of those things. So that'll be
big.
That's the big thing that we're working to. And then we will be remounting the Frankenstein's Ball at New Year's Eve.
So right after that.
Yeah,
so
right after
November,
that.
Boom.
So you can sort of, you can go into the book and experience the book and then go to New Year's Eve and experience why she wrote that and the real people who may have influenced that story. And then, looking to next year that we have not solidified yet, but we have a lot of ideas that we're working on. And I mean, I feel like we have more ideas
than you have time. Yes, that's always that's a good problem to have sometimes. You can't be overwhelming. So where are you going to mount the other book at New Year's? You're going to do it at the same location?
Yeah, the plan is to do it at the same location, which was the Highland Inn Ballroom, which also has this beautiful old fashioned. Someone said it's the stuff of poets.
Yeah, it is an interesting space, no doubt. Well, I'm assuming that you're always willing to take support in spiritual energy, finances, maybe even volunteers sometimes. And if anybody wanted to get involved or find more out about you, what's the best way for them to do that?
They can go to our website, which is just foundstages.org, or you can email us at info@foundstages.org, or follow us on social media at Foundstages.
Well, thanks for coming in, Nicole. This was fun.
Thank you.
Well, that's it for another Good Gracious Show podcast. Hope you enjoyed it. You can always go online and you can find them all posted there. You don't have to download to a phone or do anything else. You can just stream it. You can tell your grandmother to just listen to it on the website. But, we're on all the other platforms if you want to find us as well. So just go to goodgraciousshow.com and that'll all connect you up. All right. We got a little slower moving into fall here, but I think we're going to start cranking again soon. Also, I've been working on this documentary project, X Marks the Park, if you want to find out what I've been doing on the side, which is not really on the side at all. Creating a documentary about Atlanta's road battles, which is really just blown my mind how fascinating it is and how lucky we are to have had such concerned citizens get engaged and build the kind of city they wanted to live in. Because I really don't think Atlanta would be what it is today, not nearly as great, if some of the highways that were proposed would have gone through. So that's xmarksthepark.com if you want to check it out. Otherwise, shooting for a September show, next live show. So mark your calendar, just circle the whole month. I'll figure it out probably by the next podcast. And get onto our newsletter. Go to the website and you can sign up there, and that'll let you know what's going on, what's the latest, as well as some of the social media. We're out there too. So that's really all I got. Why don't you just go hug somebody, be a good neighbor, and we'll talk to you next week.